Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Franchise Show. This is the show, and I'm going to do it where we get under the hat of all things franchising. And it's a live show. Well, it's live if it's November the 11th at about 5:15 for around 45 or 50 minutes time. So because it's live, we love you to join in, say hello, get involved, pop in a question, or just say hello. I say it every week. This show is for you. You are the producers and the directors of this show. And the way our conversation goes is up to you. I've written down this in preparation. So it really is a free ranging conversation, and we can talk about all sorts of things that you would like to talk about. Now, each week on the show, we have a new topic and we have a lovely guest. Now, we have no exception today. We have a fantastic guest with us. The topic we're going to be talking about today is adapting a franchise model for a changing market. And we have the lovely Francesco Arcadio from Kaspa's Desserts. Francesco, welcome to the Franchise Show.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here with you.
Well, it's fantastic to have you with us. Before we sort of get into things today, perhaps a lot of people are going to know you, but perhaps you could give a little introduction to yourself and to Kaspa's, give us a little bit of the background and the story, and then we'll get into today's topic and how we adapt our franchise businesses.
Sure. Thank you. I started in hospitality. Well, in my early years, my family has always been in hospitality in Italy originally, where I'm from. But in the last 30 years, I've been in UK, and I was particularly fascinated by these models of, branded restaurant chains and coffee shops. And so I built up my career within a few brands at the time. For those older and of you probably remember a company called Bright Reasons, which had Pizzaland and Bella Italia at the time, or Cafe Rouge as well. So I started with those companies and make my way up. At some point, I decided to become a little bit more family friendly in my lifestyle because my son started knocking on the door, and I moved on to daytime hospitality, which was mainly with Costa Coffee, and I had a fantastic time with the brand and see the brand developing until 2005, at which point I had the opportunity to switch and start setting up the franchise area for Costa Coffee franchising, which I've done. So that was a nice switch from a corporate company with lots of infrastructure, procedures, and very well structured, but going through change and starting to franchising to becoming a franchisee. And so looking at the picture of hospitality from the other side. And we grew with a franchisee for another 15 years to a sizable number of stores, and then eventually COVID arrived and a lot of things changed in a way. And since 2020, I joined Kaspa's Desserts, first as a franchise director and then as managing director. Kaspa's, I'll tell you more about it, also owns a couple of other brands, including Fat Twins and Doner and Jarus master franchise. And we have very close connections through our shareholders with other brands like Gongcha, all of them franchise brands. Kaspa started in 2014, last and almost 15 years old at the moment, and they started in a period where the hospitality was turning their head towards dessert, and the concept of a dessert-only restaurant wasn't really exploited at the time. So it was a novelty and it was a roaring success. A few brands started at the same time, more or less, and they all found their way and still progress. Two or three brands are still heading along and growing and doing what they do very well. key has been what niche to try to take on the market, and how to keep relevant to the customers all the way through. And the fact that the founders are still well involved in the brand is a great strength of Kaspa's, because they look after their customers very closely. They own 10% of the estate, and they talk to customers every day. So it's that contact and that passion that is carried on from the founders, and so it's a great opportunity, a great strength of the brand. At the same time, sometimes it's also, before any changes happens, is to pass through a lot of stringent tests, because as they say, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Kaspa has been doing well in terms of growing number of stores. Obviously, the last couple of years have been more difficult because of the cost of living crisis, and also the scarcer availability of funds from banks and lenders. But we can see some positive shoots of hope coming along, and I reserve for your show, Harvey, the news that we're gonna make public. That in the first 6 months of the year, our growth was 12%, pure like-for-like growth, 12%, which is absolutely outstanding, and
it's amazing.
any expectation.
It's incredible. Yes. And the franchise show exclusive. We have the exclusive.
You have the exclusive. You heard it here first, and we'll issue a press release in the morning to let other people know.
So congratulations from everybody, I think, in the industry. I think everybody in hospitality and everyone in franchising wants good brands to thrive, and that's fantastic news to hear.
Absolutely. Obviously, on the other hand, the headwinds are still strong, and having more sales help a lot of the feeling and the optimism. But from a profit point of view, we still suffer from the same old. So very unreasonably high cost of energy in particular. Supply chains are not really optimized since Brexit, so the prices have gone up without control. And so we had to change what we did, and change our approach to the brand, to what we offer, and the approach also to our franchisees. So it's quite suited to the topic of the day, I would imagine. But
absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, I've written down a lot of things there, because there's a lot of really relevant stuff in terms of adapting and changing your business there, which we're definitely going to get into. Before we do that, let's recognize a few people who have joined us live today. We first of all have the lovely Simon Wise. He's put, hello franchise friends, hungry for Kaspa's. Yes, it's gonna look us all one ice cream by the time we finish this one today, that's for sure. We have the lovely Nick Pleven, one of our supporters, and he's put hello from a wet and windy Scotland. Doesn't matter where it's wet and windy, ice cream's still appropriate. So
absolutely, yeah.
We have Tim Morris. Great to have you with us, Tim. Tim has put, good evening, everyone. I am looking forward to this and the views from such a brilliant franchise brand. Love Kaspa's. Well, there you go. There's some love there for you from Tim. Great to have you with us, Tim. Let us know your thoughts about how you've experienced franchise models adapting and changing. I know that Tim with the Bridge does a lot of support roles within franchises, so I'm sure you've got some stories and questions on this, so please get involved where you can. And we've got another one from Nick, Simon Wise, me too. And let's have a look here. Simon has put 12% growth is awesome. I was going to ask if you had been affected by the cost of living crisis. Well, this is a really interesting one. And I know, Francesco, you said there about, energy prices going up, supply chain stresses and strains there, cost of goods, I'm sure, going up, staff, all those sorts of things. How have you managed that awesome sort of growth in such a tough market? And, what sort of things are you trying to do to squeeze a profit margin out of a hospitality business? Because it's tough, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, the answer to the cost of living crisis has affected us more than most of the rest of hospitality, for a very simple reason. If you visualize yourself going out on Friday or Saturday night, you probably go to a bar first or to a pub, meet some friends, have a chat, then you go and eat something, and then maybe you have another drink. Possibly you can go clubbing or whatever, depending on your age. Dessert is really at the end of the night, if you got any pennies left in your pocket. So we suffer greatly from the cost of living crisis. But as many businesses did in times of crisis, we push a little bit harder on our marketing, and we set some red lines over which we would not negotiate. The investment in marketing has come through with the delivery partners, because we saw the changes in approach from our customers. And also, while many other businesses might have looked for a way to cut corners and go down in quality, we've done the opposite. We kept on giving generous portions and top quality products. For example, we provide our chocolate sauce has over 30% chocolate cocoa content, compared to some competitors. They use 5% chocolate mixes. We are the only brand in UK that produces and offers vegan pistachio ice cream, which is very counterintuitive, because pistachio is very expensive as a gelato that we do, and making it vegan adding more cost seems counterintuitive. But yet there's a number of customers there that would love to have pistachio, which is to my view the king of gelato flavors, but they couldn't have it. So we've been very bold on that. We invested a bit more, as I said, on delivery partners. And to give you a metaphor, we saw, after a difficult year and a difficult couple of years in the past, we saw the opportunity, and we did what an expert driver does on a bend. So if you stamp on the brakes and stop investing in marketing, your centrifugal force will push you out of the bend. If you be patient and hold on tight to where you go solid there, 4 wheels, and then you gently push an accelerator, invest more in marketing, you get out of the bend a little bit faster than others. So
I like that analogy.
But that's exactly what we've done, and we invested heavily on that, because we are not a necessary good offering. We are the top of the last. If you allow me the pun, we had the cherry on the cake. So it's the last thing that you can easily cut down to and say, okay, we haven't got enough money for that. So we really needed to give a good reason for people and customers to continue to come to us on their celebrations, on their events, or on their afternoon tea.
Absolutely. No, I love that. I love the idea of making sure that you keep going with quality, because it's very easy when you're looking at trying to find profit margin. It's very easy to try and cut corners, to try and cut costs. And if you do that, you end up sacrificing on quality. And it's clear that you're not doing that. You're not cutting, that you're keeping that quality. It's very, very important to you. And I think customers appreciate it as well. I think if you are going to have a treat like that, you want that to be a great experience. And therefore, if it's an okay experience, it's something you'd easily say, oh, well, we perhaps don't need to do that. But if it's always, that fantastic quality, I can see why customers would want to come back. I think it's a really interesting angle. It really is.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look. We've had another question come in here, so let's have a look at this one as well. For a lot of brands, The recruitment and retention of staff frontline has been a key challenge. How have you approached or addressed this? Yeah, look, that's a great question, because I think people in our business are key. And look, we're talking about adapting and changing, and I think your people in your business are key to those periods of change. To be resilient to that, and to work with your teams when you want to change things. How have you approached people and change in the business?
Well, there's two levels here. One is the store level. We own 10% of the stores Kaspa has, and the rest are basically in the hands of franchisees. We give franchisees a good we pass to franchisee a good understanding of the labor market, or how to deal with staff, and also rules and regulations and good practices that they need to adopt for staff. The question is very pertinent, because, as you said, it's all about people talking to people. Yet still, I see a lot of kiosks, a lot of robots coming into stores, but for the time being, it's still about people talking to people. And very often, when the conversation becomes critical, is when you have some kind of a customer comment, feedback, complaint, and we look at that as the greatest opportunity to turn a customer into a fan of the brand. So one of the things that we did was certainly have a structured approach to all the comments and complaints that come to the store centrally, and then we have a conversation with the franchisees. But I don't want to, go a different way from the question. The retention of staff is very difficult, but even more difficult than that is the recruitment. At the moment, although there seems to be plenty of jobs around, the quality of the applicants is very mixed. And it's a question of, I think, it's a generational change. And what we found is that we found it easier to try and understand what the new generations look for in a job, and try to understand that nowadays, especially after COVID, something has changed in the wiring of our brains. So even sometimes doing a small trip to the office is a bit difficult. So we try to keep our core staff with some level of flexibility. At least one day working from home, I think, is more than acceptable these days. But this is for our head office staff. We were very privileged and lucky to have found people that were very committed to the job and to the brand, and they have made changes and help us make changes quite smoothly. But it's not easy to find decent staff with good motivation to work. In stores is hit and miss, because still we suffer the stigma of hospitality jobs being very temporary and somehow detrimental to somebody's career. Some people still have the view of hospitality jobs. So we try to go for people that really want to make a difference and really like this kind of relationship and like serving food. And in our particular sector is all about happiness. You don't see a sad face in front of a dessert. And if you feel the buzz when you give an outstanding dessert to a child and you see their jaw drop, that if you have that little kind of pleasure, then you're cut out for the job, rightly.
I think that's lovely, and I think that's so important when you're talking about people there. You've identified that you're a place of happiness, and look, I've been in hospitality all my working life, and a lot of that I was a chef early on, and there's something about when you in hospitality, when you make someone happy, it's part of the joy of the job. isn't it? When it doesn't matter what area of hospitality you work in, it's a really big driver, to make people happy. And I see it all the time. I had the pleasure of putting out a post. I went to one of your lovely stores, and it was absolutely that, in droves, putting out that happiness. And the people that served me, you could just see the passion in just trying to present and make someone feel happy. So great hospitality is resilient to all sorts of market changes if you just keep that hospitality level up. But great question, Simon. Thanks for that. We're going to come back actually to something you were saying there, Francesco, because you were starting to talk about the customer reviews. And I know you stopped because it wasn't quite Simon's question, but let's get into that a little bit more, because I like what you were saying. Because if you get a review, whether that's good or bad, it's an indication of something. It's like you said, it's an opportunity then, isn't it, to take whatever that feedback is and see whether that can be sort of driven into the business to create some positive change. So tell us a little bit more about what you were doing there, because it sounds really, really interesting.
Yeah, well, and talk about it. But before that, I'm going to do something that no other guest of yours has done. So when you ask a question, I will put a different hat on.
I like it.
It's just because I love your programs, especially the banter and the sense of humor. And if you haven't got sense of humor, you cannot work in hospitality. That's for sure. I have another little consideration that I give you, and then I move on onto your question. Hospitality is at the source of anthropology, believe it or not. And I don't want to make it too intellectual, or please tell me if I need to shut up. An anthropologist called Margaret Mead was asked once, where do you think anthropology starts? Well, basically, when do you think a human being starts as we know it? And she pulled out a healed femur of a prehistoric man. And he said, I think that anthropology started where we healed somebody who was injured, who was destined to die, and we cared for this person. And hospitality and hospital have the same etymology. So it's about taking care of somebody. So to all those people that think that hospitality is a little bit of a lower level job or a temporary job, I would like to say it is part of being human, because there's no civilization in the world where somebody in need is not cared for. If you find yourself among Eskimos or in the middle of the Sahara Desert, the first cultural approach is to take care of you. And this is how noble our business is. And that I would like to see more people saying, this is a very noble position to be in. Okay, now going back to your question,
I think just quickly touching on what you said there, because I think it's really powerful actually. And we're talking about adapting to change, and in fact, in a couple of weeks' time, we're talking about some global expansion. But I think you're absolutely right. Great hospitality, making someone smile with food. It doesn't matter about language, about culture. If you care about somebody else and you offer them some food, it wouldn't matter, I don't think, where you went in the world. If you bought one of your ice creams and offered it to someone, it's going to make someone smile, no matter where they are, and that's a powerful thing about hospitality, isn't it? It really is. And I think that's a really, really interesting take on that. But sorry, you were saying, but I love what you said there.
Okay, your question was about
the reviews, wasn't it? Yeah.
Sorry, again?
It was about the customer reviews and how
the customer reviews. Yeah. Basically, we live in a high information exchange world. Wherever you look, there's information coming at you, and we have learned to be measured, and also we learn to receive a score for everything we do. Now, this can be somehow a constriction, or for a business, or any business, needs to be an opportunity, because wherever there is, the way, the philosophy, the way we changed our philosophy was to look at complaints like a gift. Just imagine the customer takes their time to tell you that something wasn't quite right, something that you will have to pay a number of surveying companies or auditing company to tell you. And this customer does it for free, just for a bit of acknowledgement. So it is a real gift when we get feedback, positive or negative. And you have to react and take care of both very promptly, very quickly, because you can lose a customer very easily for a small thing, especially if they don't talk to you. But you can gain their loyalty for life if your answer is appropriate and it's is adequate, and it leaves satisfied with your feedback. At the end of the day, we all come down to the human side, and we all know that humans can fail, can make mistakes, can get things wrong. So whenever that happens, we need to take the responsibility and try to offer some solutions and learn and make sure that that problem doesn't happen again. It's easy they said. Done is a different question, because then you go also the personal pride of the person who thought they were doing everything right. But if the end customer is not happy, that says it all,
You're absolutely right. It can be handled in different things, but I love the idea of looking at, complaints. It's often referred to as something negative, but it's really powerful to think of that as something that is, it's a challenge. It's an opportunity, like you say, to address that, to address it quickly, and you do it in the right way. It makes a stronger business and a stronger team. And you're absolutely right, particularly in hospitality. It only takes a couple of bad experiences to lose the loyalty of somebody who's perhaps a real regular visitor. So it's so important to have that openness, that customers feel they can raise an issue and that they're not going to hurt someone's feelings. They're not going to upset somebody. You just want you want your business to be the best. They want it to be the best. And I think particularly in this country, we're a bit guilty of sort of not saying things when we should. And I think it's really refreshing to know that that we can and we should. Look, we've got a few more people to welcome. I'd definitely like to welcome the lovely Stephen Hopper from Plan Burrito. Fantastic to have you with us, Stephen. He is going to be a guest on the QSR show, my new show that's starting on the 27th of November. So we're going to hear all about Stephen's business and how he's grown that. And it's going to be a subject all about growing a QSR and creating that brand. And he's got very wise advice, Francesco Arcadio. So yes, he's liking your advice. So am I. So am I. Nick has come back with, I have an answer to recruitment and retention issue. Make sure you recruit people who are best suited to the job, not looking at their CV, and they will perform better, stay longer. Could we? Yeah, I mean, we are having a conversation about it, and I completely agree. And Nick is one of our lovely supporters, and he's absolutely an advocate, Francesco, of what you've said there. It's not about skills; it's about getting those passions, those soft skills out of people.
I think what Nick says is very, very extremely to the point, and I couldn't agree more. Very often you look at CV when recruiting, as you mentioned in there, and you see lots of experience. But one of the questions you want to ask the candidate is not where do you come from, but where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself? And sometimes you might find a fantastic CV, people that have lots of experience, but they might not have the motivation or the interest in the business, as opposed to having somebody maybe with less experience, but really passionate about it. And I encountered some great examples of people that all their life work in a completely different work environment. and they were so unhappy. And then they found a breakthrough for whatever reason in hospitality, and they never looked back. And they said, "This is what I was made for. This is my environment. I love to do this."
Yeah.
And Nick is absolutely right. The CV counts up to a point. You don't need to have a degree. You just need to love working with people in the first place,
Yeah.
and then everything else can follow.
Absolutely, 100%. We've got another couple of people that I want to just welcome, and then we've got a couple more questions coming in. If you have just joined us, this is the Franchise Show, and today we are talking about adapting your business for a changing market. And we're having a fantastic conversation with Francesco, MD of Kaspa's Desserts. We've got Charles Caldwell joined us. Always lovely to have you with us, Charles. Charles is dialing in from Hong Kong, where I believe it's about 1:45 in the morning. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us, and try and get some sleep, my friend. But it's always good to have you with us. We have Daniel Higgins. Daniel, welcome to the Franchise Show. He's put hi from Scotland. Well, fantastic to have you with us. Please get involved in the conversation. Let us know your thoughts. Let's have a look. We've got a couple of questions coming up, one from Stephen Hopper and one from Tim Morris. Let's go to Stephen Hopper's question first. He's put, how do you look to drive in-store sales versus delivery sales so they get the full Kaspa's experience? Yeah, this is a great question, because the market is changing. People are looking at drive-throughs, takeouts, deliveries. How do you get people to have that full experience and come in into the space?
That's a very good question, Stephen. I love these burritos, by the way. And but I will have to change my hat for this question, so I've got a different one. Right, for us is because we're not so much a takeaway business as such. We have restaurants, full set up restaurants, which have the power to create an atmosphere. So coming to a Kaspa store is not only about having a high quality dessert and the latest trends and the best quality, some very interesting takes of all kind of traditional desserts. There's a lot of work that we put into our product, but we can touch on that later on. But it's actually getting the full experience. So getting in a thriving place that looks a little bit a mixture between an American diner and 1990s disco, and you get in there and it's noisy and it's loud, and you sit in big booths where you can, if you want, you can be part of the party going around you, but also you can also have the intimacy of your family or your best friends sitting within the booth. So we created that atmosphere, and we created the setup of the store that has that hustle and bustle that will allow you to relax, and when you are relaxing, you enjoy your food better, you have better time, better memorable times, and that is something that no delivery company can offer. So our delivery success is based on the fact that people have been to Kaspa's and had that experience. And when they come back and have that experience in store. But now we offer also the facility to bring that experience to your home. But per se, Kaspa would be on a similar level of all the other brands on deliveries. But because people have experienced what it means to be a Kaspa's and the quality of the product, then they say, okay, I can try and replicate it at home without coming to the store this time. But the two things go hand in hand. And, we are not a business that can work on deliveries only. We have to have that intimate connection with our customers. And it's not by chance that we have won for 3 years running the best loved dining out brand in the dessert sector. And this is something that, differently from many other awards, is specifically designed to collect information through surveys from customers. So there's no expert panels, there's no business colleagues that might favor you or not. This is very, gritty feedback from customers. They're asked which is the best loved brand when you go and dine out. Having been 3 years on the top or among dessert parlors, we find that is the connection. That's the connection that we built with our customers, and that's what I recommend any new brand, any smaller brand, to work on that intimate connection and with your customers.
I think it's really powerful, and I think you're absolutely right, particularly in your restaurants, actually, because that atmosphere, they're very different looking. And I think you're right about the booths as well. They're creating kind of privacy as well as being part of things as well. And some things you just can't replicate with a delivery or a drive-through experience. It's not always the case, and I think that was beautifully answered. Let's have a little look. We've got a few more questions coming in. One thing that I do want to get to, and you started to mention there about product and menu development, maybe day part changes. Let's touch on that first quickly, and then we'll take a few more questions. How has menu sort of development or introducing new day parts? I mean, obviously you're known as a dessert brand. It's always going to be at your core. But how have you sort of flexed your menu in the past, and what might you be doing in the future to sort of negate a changing landscape?
Well, yeah, it's a very good question. Do I need to change my hat? Yeah. A brilliant question, and it's getting cool at it. It's a brilliant question. I must admit, Kaspa's has been slow in moving into different day part for a very, very simple reason, that we wanted to have our 100% focus on what we are renowned for and what we do well. I would be lying if I wasn't to tell you that we've done several tests with savory products, breakfast products, even something more on the sandwiches or finger food and so on. And inevitably, we will have to knock on the door of those different day parts. But what we need to do, and what any brand needs to do, is to keep loyal to their original brand promise. To give you an example, if all of a sudden I start making, Michelin star fried fish, people will say, what does it got to do with Kaspa's? Why should I trust you that you're good at this?
Yeah.
If I was to make something completely different that hasn't got anything to do with what we do day and night, how do you gain the confidence of people to say, oh, I think it's going to be good? So the move from our point of view needs to be gradual, and it's to kind of almost flow gently into some overlaps with some minor movement towards other day parts. This is our point of view, because we don't want to confuse customers. We are Kaspa's dessert, and it's inevitable that at some point some of our bigger stores with more infrastructure will sell some more savories of various kind. I cannot tell you our top secret development, but yeah, it is inevitable there would be an overlap. Also, an overlap towards the breakfast part of the day part is very natural for us, and it is a must. We need to do it. There's no other ways about it, because at this day and age you need to make your asset sweat. So the traditionally we were open, let's say 1 o'clock until 11 o'clock at night, and gradually we've been extending our opening hours, and inevitably we will overlap with the breakfast part of it, with the brunch part of it, and maybe with the 11th part of it, and it will become part of it. But you need to keep your soul its proposition right, and give confidence to the customers that you're not lost your way.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I mean, for any brand out there, any brand that's looking to adapt, hospitality or not hospitality, any brand that's looking to adapt, be I love your expression there. You know, be loyal to your brand promise, and you can introduce changes provided they are loyal to that brand, provided a customer still understands what that proposition is and trusts that, you know, that you're making the right move. Let's welcome a couple more people and then get to, I think we've got a question coming in, a couple of questions from Daniel Higgins, so we'll have a look at those in a moment. But let's welcome Joe Caruso to the show. Always fantastic to have you with us, Joe. Joe is someone I would always call upon if I was looking to do any sort of franchising in the US. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's put, hey, Harvey Tuck and Francesco Arcadio, great to hear you talking franchising words. Great to have you with us, Joe. Always pop in your thoughts about how US franchise businesses adapt to a changing market. We've got about 5 minutes left. Yeah, please pop in any questions. We've got a couple more to go. Let's welcome James Smith to the Franchise Show. James, welcome to the Franchise Show. He's put first timer, fantastic insight. Thanks for sharing, Francesco. Look, you're absolutely welcome, James. Please come back anytime and pop in a question as we finish things today. Let's go to a couple of points here from Daniel. Daniel's put, it's not about filling vacancy just for the sake of it. Best people, best service, best operations with a steady management team. Yeah, absolutely.
Gold nuggets. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I mean.
Completely agree with that. Let's have a look at another one here that's come in from Daniel. He's put a question. I do see in some companies lots of guests waiting to get served will get missed as companies concentrate on home delivery orders. How do you sort this without affecting staff levels, i.e. wage control? Yeah, I think this is really interesting, Daniel, actually, because if there is a big push on the delivery side and you get a sort of a queue of delivery drivers in there, you change that atmosphere, don't you?
I fully agree, Harvey. And the big dilemma these days is sometimes our managers or our team members say, who do I prioritize? Is it fair that I prioritize the delivery just because I arrived before the customer in store? And you need to live the good management deal with priorities. In my view, your in-store customers is like people that come to your house, and therefore you need to look after them, and you cannot forget about them. You cannot let them wait too long, and let's face it, there are a number of pinch points on the delivery market that could affect the delivery timing. And one is obviously the preparation time. Another one might be the driver speed to get there, or the driver availability to come to your site. So there's a number of pinch points. The person who receives the food at home is made aware of how far the food is. The person in the store doesn't have that facility. So even if it's only 5 minutes, it feels an eternity if you are in a different environment. So I would always prefer to prioritize the in-store customers and take care of the delivery, appropriately. But as it was pointed out, it's all down to the team and have great operations and get the right amount of staff. There's no excuse not to have the right amount of staff at peak time. Our operating hours or the peak hours are relatively defined, so there's no excuse to be caught short.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a great question, and I think it's a really interesting point when you're trying to balance out what you're doing and adapting your business. Let's just have a quick look, make sure we've got through everything here. Nick's put, how right is Daniel? Yeah, as I say, it's a really interesting point, and I think one of the things today that's absolutely come across is adapting businesses and changing things is about getting things right in terms of your people and your product and your offer. You know, businesses certainly can adapt. and can change, but it's got to be done with care, and consideration, and then it can go very well. Let's have a look. We've got one more question. Let's take one more before we go to the last part of today's show. Simon's put, given that blended customer profile, what part does technology play in your business? That's a good question. Is tech, I mean, I don't know, maybe you can look, think about those screens, touch screens, do you have a lot of tech in the business?
This is such a good question. I need my combat hat on. The point is that technology, let's not beat about the bush here. In every industry, who owns the technology first wins. And technology nowadays, it's a must. You must be on top of your game all the time. And I cannot tell you, we have continuous conversations with different companies that knock on our door, try to improve our systems. One of the big things we started a few years ago, some competitors have been a bit slow on that. They're just starting loyalty now, but we started loyalty a couple of years ago. The amount of information and the relationship we can have with our customers is incredible. And that's only one part of it. And then you can have direct deliveries, you can save money, be operationally more efficient, take bookings, and establish that connection with your customer. So you're absolutely right. Technology is a must nowadays, and it is going to make or break it in the future. You see AI and the impact it has already in some businesses. Although hospitality is about humans, there are lots of tools I've seen that can improve, almost give a personal service to a customer to a level that we never saw before. And I saw some systems that are fantastic, even to help you define the design of your store or the pass-through rate or your food. Not to mention the quality of delivery. The AI can check if the plate is presented well. Simon, it's a very good question. It's something that we cannot stand still a minute, because the moment you turn the other side, technology has moved on.
100%. Well, look, we have now come to the end of the first part of today's show. This is the bit where my camera has to go off for a little bit, because it's illegal to see me without wearing. So, oh my goodness, people did see me wearing without a hat. Oh no, I've got a head.
That's good.
Anyway, this part of the show that's the first time that's ever happened, but that's good. This part of the show is, of course, sponsored by my lovely friend Paul Murphy from PJ Murphy and Sons, Bespoke British Hatters. So if you'd like a lovely hat like this one, then please contact Paul. So look, this is a great part of the show, and this is the part of the show where we stop talking about franchising for a little bit and we find out a little bit about Francesco. This is also the part of the show where Francesco can get his own back on me, because he can ask me a question. But before he does that, I'm going to just ask you, have you met anyone famous? Have you got a claim to fame? Or have you got some sort of interesting hobby that people don't know about you? You can choose any one of those.
Oh wow. Okay. That's a good one. I like to do any sport where you can move and run, especially if water is involved. So sailing, windsurfing, it's my natural environment. But I also like motorbiking. When I have a chance to take a motorbike and go and travel in some mountain passes and so on. And there's so many fantastic places in the UK to visit. It's mind blowing. And that's what takes me out of the business, regenerates. You do 1,500 miles in one weekend, and you feel that you should be very tired, but you come back with more energy than before. It's unbelievable. So, yeah.
What a lovely way to see the countryside as well, sailing and motorbiking. Love it. Well, look, I promised you could get your own back on me. Now, you can let me get away with this if you wish, or you can ask me any question you like.
Okay, I saw you visit one of our stores in Dover. I know exactly the dessert that you had, but what is your the most favorite dessert?
That's a good question. What is my favorite dessert? I might have to say the one I had at your restaurant, but it was delicious, by the way. It was amazing ice cream. My favorite dessert, I do love a tiramisu. I do love a tiramisu, a good tiramisu. I mean, look, I'm a bit of a dessert fan, so it's tough to choose one. I think also my dad always used to make this amazing apple crumble, and he passed me down the recipe. So I will occasionally make my dad's apple crumble. So I think that's got to be up there in the desserts as well. So I'm going to say my dad's apple crumble. There you go.
That sounds good. That sounds like I need to investigate the recipe on that.
Oh, so well, maybe. I can only put it to you. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, look, we have come to the end of today's episode. So it leaves me, first of all, to thank our wonderful audience for being with us and for putting in such fantastic comments and questions, spending your time and getting involved. It really is what makes this show what it is. And I put out a huge thank you to you all. And of course, I'd like to thank you, Francesco. You've been absolutely brilliant and great fun, and I'm loving the hats. And it's a first on this show, and a first that people have actually got to see the top of my head.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'd like to say that the questions were very, very pertinent. Obviously, experts on hospitality asked very pertinent questions. I really appreciated that.
Oh, fantastic. It only leaves me now to say what's going to go on next week. So next Tuesday, the 18th of November, we are going to be talking with our lovely friends from the Bridge, Tim and Nikki. So looking forward to them being on the show. And we're going to be talking about the fears that franchisees bring to a franchise brand, and how to negate those fears and overcome them. So it's going to be a great topic. So please join us next Tuesday, 5:15 GMT, 12:15 EST. And until next time, take very good care. Cheerio.